How's it going, everybody? Dragast here, and today we're gonna be bringing you whatever the heck this thing is. Now, obviously, I know what this thing is, but it's a pretty interesting looking one. This is the HP Omen X desktop gaming PC, and the nice people over at HP decided to give this to me about a month ago to try it out for you guys and see what I like and dislike about it. So I've been using this for about a month now for gaming and editing, and I will say overall I am truly impressed with this design. We're going to go into it today. I want to do three things with you guys. First of all, obviously, check out this case, go throughout it, showing you what I like and dislike about it, and why it really is looking the way it does. There is some engineering behind it that makes it, well, pretty much look this way. It looks pretty damn cool, let's be honest. After that, I'm going to tell you some of the things I don't like about it, and then we're going to get into some gaming to see how this thing can perform. So let's get into it. Alright, first of all, let's talk about the case itself. Obviously, it's got a pretty unique design here. This is a 45-degree layout, basically meaning it's on its side. Now, the reason for this, the main reason for this, is if you have this thing on the ground and you eject your side case here, you can see that it goes right over here is where you can actually get inside of it. Now, that angle is pretty much the optimal angle if you do want to do some work inside of your case, especially if it's on the ground. You can pretty much just sit there and put your hands right in it, making doing upgrading or just general maintenance on this thing a little bit easier. So that's the main reason for the 45-degree angle, is pretty much to just work on this thing. Plus, I mean, obviously, it looks pretty freaking cool as well. Now, another cool feature of this case is its tri-chamber design to help with heat. Basically, we have our motherboard up on this part. This is one chamber. This has your graphics card and your processor. Down here, you have your power supply in a totally different chamber. You can't even get to it from the chamber up here with its own ventilation as well, so it's going to keep that heat away from your other components up here. Over here, you have your hard drives as well in a different chamber, so basically that means a lot of your heated components are in their own unique chambers, making heat disbursement even throughout the whole machine, which is pretty damn cool. And playing with it, I will say my temps have been slightly lower than an ordinary case design. On top of that, it has top-mounted exhaust vents on the sides and the back and front, making all the hot air obviously rise outside of your case using, obviously, physics to your advantage. Hot air rises, that's where you want the fans to be to blow out the air, and it does help a little bit. Now let's talk a little bit about cable management. If you are a PC builder, that's a pretty important thing when it comes to buying a case. As you can see inside here, a very clean inside of the case. Basically, all the cables go underneath the motherboard into the power supply compartment right in the back here, and there is so much room in there for all of your cords, basically making this PC case a breeze to build with. So if you like a clean-looking case, this is another great feature of this thing, having so much room for your cable management. And I know with a lot of tower cases, there's basically no room at all. Now, moving over to these hard drives that I was talking about before, as well as the side I/O, I will briefly explain to you some of the cool features about this. First of all, the hard drives, they're actually a toolless design, basically meaning you can actually pull out your hard drive here and all the connections disconnect automatically. This makes installing a new hard drive a breeze. It's as simple as sliding it in and all the connections are instantaneous. You don't need any tools. You don't even need to go into the case to install a new hard drive. This is easily one of the coolest features as an editor on this PC case. It makes dealing with hard drives a breeze. And of course, there's 4 slots with 3 different empty bays where you can install your own hard drives. Moving on to the side I/O with all of our connections, we have our power button, a Wi-Fi indicator, headphone and mic jack, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and 2 USB 3.0 Type-C ports that support fast charging, and then we also have an SD card slot. This is a really great side I/O for me, especially with the SD card slot. Once again, if you are an editor, that just makes life a little bit easier. Alright, moving on to the rear I/O, we have an optical audio port, 1 HDMI for your motherboard, 6 USB 3.0s, 1 Ethernet port, 1 optical audio port, and a 3.5mm audio port. Now, when it comes to display port connections, it depends on the graphics card that you choose, and I didn't go into that just yet. The really cool thing about this case is there is a plethora of options when it comes to inside components. You can go very cheap and you can go very, very expensive. You can also buy the bare bones case itself if you do want to build it for yourself. So when it comes to inside components, I'm not going to spend too much time on them because each of these is unique. So basically, display ports can differ differ based on the graphics card that you choose. Now, below your hard drives, on the underside of the case, we actually have a slim optical drive that you can use. Most computers don't even come with optical drives anymore. Still convenient, because every now and then you get that CD, but kind of in a weird place on this one. But if I wanted anything to be in a weird place, it would definitely be the optical drive, as we basically never use them anymore. And that's not it. We're still going throughout this case, guys. We have another cool feature here. There's actually behind the front emblem here, this is just magnetized on, it's just a panel. You actually have a toolkit with extra screws, a 2-in-1 magnetized screwdriver, and it is magnetized, which is very convenient when it comes to small computer components. And then you have this little tool which allows you to take off these panels and install different fans throughout the case. Very cool. Keeps all the tools that you need to be doing builds on this case right inside the case itself, so you can't lose them. And this is actually where you go to your cord management as well. There's one screw here. If you undo that screw, you can take off this whole toolkit, and behind that there's a bunch of space for cord management. And finally, let's just talk a little bit about the lighting on this case, because it is quite impressive. As you can see, the whole front lights up, but this is totally customizable. There's 9 fully customizable lighting zones. Each of the outer parts is customizable, and each of the inner parts is customizable, as well as the emblem itself you can customize to any color that you want. And on top of that, there's actually 4 different modes you can choose from for this lighting, and there's some cool features. For example, you can attach it to the sounds that are coming throughout your computer, so it's going to be totally black when it's silent, and then it will do an animation when there's some sounds going throughout your computer. Now, my favorite lighting mode for this thing is called the monitoring mode, which is pretty cool. Basically, the top 2 squares will tell you how the temps are for your graphics card as well as your processor, and the bottom 2 squares will let you know in percentage form how much you are using for your graphics card and processor as well. It basically goes from blue to red. The hotter the color, or the more red, the more you are using, which is really good on the fly when you are gaming, to just kind of know how hot your PC is, because you do want to, keep an eye on that, especially when you're high-end gaming. Now, that's basically it for the case itself. I'm a pretty huge fan of this case design. I wasn't really sold on it the first moment I got it, because it is such a big case, as you can see. I mean, I'm a big guy, and it's making me look pretty damn small beside it. And honestly, I was a little overwhelmed with the size when I first got it, but it is starting to grow on me. The features of it just make it worthwhile. Now, let's go to the inside and check out some of the components in this one. Now, keep in mind, when we are checking out this one, there is options for things much lower than this and much higher than this. I think you can get like dual 1080s if you want to go really hardcore. So when it comes to components inside this one, if you don't necessarily like these components, you have many more options on the website when it comes to what you want inside. You can actually also buy the case itself bare bones if you want to do a build on it by yourself. So I thought that was really cool of HP, because usually they don't do things like that. So let's open this thing up and we'll briefly go over what's inside this version of this. But once again, I'm not going to spend too much time on the components itself, just because, well, you can basically choose your own, so you can do whatever you want. Now, inside this one, we have an i7-6700K processor, which should be able to throw pretty much any game that you can throw at it. On top of that, it's got closed-loop liquid cooling for that processor to keep the temps down. We also got 16 gigs of DDR4 memory with 2 extra slots if you do want to go up to 32 gigs. In terms of drives, we have one 256 gigabyte SSD for our operating system for quick boot times, and then we have a 2 terabyte disk drive. I believe it is a Seagate. For the graphics card, I already briefly mentioned it, but it's an NVIDIA GTX 1080 with 8 gigs of dedicated memory. Now, this whole system's bundled with Windows 10, and I will say, when it comes to bloatware, if you are curious, there's basically nothing on it, so you don't have to get rid of all those annoying programs that you normally do. Overall, I'm really impressed with this thing out of the box, but I will say it only supports micro ATX motherboards, so if you wanted to go any bigger, you don't have the option to. So that's it when it comes to the case itself, both inside and out. Now, I'm going to quickly go over a few minor dislikes I have on this. Now, I will say most of these are just personal preference, and it might be totally different for you, but I do want to give some honest feedback for you guys and just let you know how I feel. First thing is the size of this thing. I know I already mentioned it before, but if you do have a confined space or you just don't have enough space, this thing does have a pretty large footprint, especially considering it's on its side. It will definitely take up a lot of space, so make sure you have that space when you do purchase this thing. The next thing comes down to the side I/O ports. Now, this is a perfect setup if you have this thing on the left-hand side of you, wherever you're sitting. But if this case is on the right-hand side of you, it becomes a pretty big annoyance. Unlike an ordinary case where you have your I/O ports on the top, you have this thing on the side. So obviously, if this side is not towards you, you're going to have an issue with your audio jacks as well as your USB ports, and just powering the thing on. I mean, the power button's here as well. So once again, I would only recommend this case if you have enough room on the left-hand side of you to place it, because it really doesn't make sense if you place it on the right-hand side. And my only other complaint is something that I already mentioned. It only supports micro ATX motherboards. Now, this isn't a big issue for me or pretty much anyone who doesn't, build the PC themselves, but if you are buying the bare bones computer, just know you can't use an ATX board. It is too large. So that's a quick overview of the case. I didn't really mention this is an all metal design, by the way. Very sturdy. I can actually lift it up on one leg here without being too worried, and this is a very heavy case. Once again, pretty much all metal here. So it really is going to last you, and you can obviously switch out components and install new components to keep up with technology. Now, that's not it, though. As you can see in front of me now, we still have some Omen branded gaming peripherals. Now, these are all Steelseries items that are rebranded with the Omen logo, so I'm a pretty huge fan of that. I love Steelseries. I use their products for myself personally, and now with Omen, you can get these as well if you do want to have the whole Omen layout. All of these are Omen X branded. So just like the case, we will quickly go over these items and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about them. So first off, let's start off with the mouse. Now this is a rebranded Steelseries Rival 300. It's actually the mouse that I used before I got this mouse. So obviously I'm a pretty big fan of it. Very simple gaming design, very comfortable if you are a palmer. That is palm gripper. It's just a simple mouse, nothing too crazy about it. You got a DPI switch on the top, left and right click, of course, with the scroll wheel, and then 2 programmable buttons on the side. Works great, and really no complaints about it. Next up, we got this huge thing. Now, this is something I didn't ever buy myself, and not that I don't have a mouse mat, but I don't have an oversized mouse mat, and as you can see, this one is pretty large. I'm thinking it's the QCK Plus by Steelseries, but I'm not certain. And I will say, this is one thing that I got out of this that really did improve my gaming experience. I didn't realize how useful the extra mouse space is, especially for things like FPSs. Once again, a good quality product, nice thick rubber. We got nice fabric on the top, and I have used Steelseries mice pads before, and they do last a very long time. So, I mean, it's a mouse pad, but it does bring a lot to the game, at least for me. Next up, we have the headset here, which is a rebranded Steelseries Siberia 200. Now, I do have a complaint with this, but it's more a personal thing. I have a very, very, very large head. So large, in fact, that I have to specially order my own hats. So this is probably more of a me thing and not, a general audience thing. But over prolonged periods of time, this is very uncomfortable to use just because it has to stretch so much to fit my big noggin. Now, if you do have an ordinary size head, this really shouldn't be an issue for you. It's just when it comes to my head, it was a personal issue. So if you have a very large head, you might run into that as well. Aside from that, this is a great quality product. It does have a few cool features. First of all, this top head thing, it's on kind of like a pulley system where it's basically automatically adjustable. You don't need to adjust this to any size head, so you can just put it on and it automatically fits to your head. Really cool. Also, very simple design and quality, as you can see. I don't think you'd be able to break this one. So really, it's built to last. And one final feature that I really like about this headset that other headsets don't normally have is its mic. You can simply just pull it out and it kind of unravels itself inside and comes out. This is totally bendable. You can bend it to wherever you want. And when you're done using it, it's as simple as pushing it back in and then it's out of the way, which is really nice. Now, sound quality is very decent in these. Siberia is a very popular headset for good reason. It's quite good quality. Very good gaming grade headset. I wouldn't compare it to something that I use because I'm more audiophile grade when it comes to editing. But if you are a gamer, very bassy, and you should have no complaints with the sound quality when it comes to gaming. And finally, we got this very large beast. This is the Steelseries Apex 350 gaming keyboard. I have a lot of complaints with this one personally, but once again, personal preference. Now, first of all, this thing, very, very large. I'm used to a smaller keyboard. I like having a smaller keyboard, but if you like the added space, then this is something that's definitely for you. On this side, you got 10 different macro buttons that you can totally program. There's also a few cool features on this. On the other side, you got different media buttons that you can use, play, pause. I believe there's also, yes, audio up and audio down. And also, I don't know if you can see this, but on the directional buttons, there's actually diagonal directional buttons that you don't normally have on any other keyboard that I've seen. So once again, it's got gaming in mind when it comes to the layout of this. On top, we also got 2 USB ports, so you can connect your mouse to that if you want to. Now, everything that I've complained about so far is just personal preference. I just don't like a big keyboard. Now, I will say something that a lot of people I don't think will like. This is actually rubber dome. It's low-profile rubber dome, but it is not mechanical keys, unfortunately. And personally, I think in this day and age, if you are a gamer and you're buying something of this grade, you're going to want a mechanical keyboard as well, just for that tactile feedback, and the general quality will last longer. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with rubber dome, just a lot of people don't like that. But yes, that's it for the gaming peripherals. Overall, I think this was a great option for this PC. Teaming up with Steelseries was probably their best decision. Overall, I liked all the items, but I do know Steelseries makes mechanical keyboards, as I do own one myself. I would have liked to see mechanical switches on this thing. Now, that was a quick crash course on all the products that were given to me for this, as well as this product itself. Now, there is a monitor you can get as well. They didn't give me that to review, so I can't really say much about that, but if you want to go crazy, you can get Omen everything. Now, overall, I think it's pretty obvious. I do really like this product, and I think it's a great option for anyone who's into getting a gaming-grade pre-built machine. So now that we checked out the machine itself, let's put it through its paces and do a little bit of gaming, shall we? Okay, guys, so here we are in some Battlefield 1. I figured this would be the perfect game to showcase this PC to you guys because, well, it's a brand new game. It just came out, and it's also one of the most graphically enhanced games that I can think of. So if it can play this, it can play probably most of the other games out there. So this is just a little bit of campaign, kind of like a highlight reel showcasing some of the most intense moments that I had playing for about an hour or so. Now, if you look at the top left, you can see my FPS at any given time, so this will kind of showcase to you how stressed my PC is. I don't think it ever goes below like 70 FPS, which is what you really want. As long as it's over 60, in my personal opinion, you are pretty much good to go. Some people say you can see higher than that, but anything over 60 and it's smooth as hell. Also, if you look at the top right, you can see my screen monitor as well as the PC case. Now, the system monitoring is on, so you might see those colors changing every now and then. Now you can actually see the difference in colors. We go from blue, obviously, all the way down to red when things start getting really hot. So overall, during my gaming experience, I actually do want to say that the Siberia headset is starting to kind of draw to me. The sound quality is actually really great when you're focusing on gaming. It's a very bassy sound, but you definitely do want that in a war setting like this, so you can hear the footsteps, you can hear the bombs, and I find that when using this headset actually did help me out quite a bit. Obviously, the mouse pad too on the screen, as you can see, I have lots of area to utilize that mouse. And that's exactly what you want in an FPS setting. Overall, I am really impressed with this build. I had a great time playing with it. And yeah, obviously from a hardware perspective, as you can see on the screen, this thing can take pretty much anything that you can throw at it. In the month that I have been using it, I really haven't had any true issues when it comes to the hardware of this unit. So overall, a great experience, and I hope you guys enjoyed just a little bit of gameplay. You're going to see some in the future, though, because I will be using this rig to record and edit all of my videos. Alright, and that wraps it up for this review of the Omen X gaming desktop. If you do want to check it out for yourself, there will be a link in the description where you can go see the different types of models. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I do want to thank HP for sending me this out and sponsoring this video. Obviously, I really like this thing. It's actually going to be my editing rig. So if you see all my videos in the future and you're wondering where they come from, well, this is the machine to thank. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. As always, thanks for watching and liking, and I will see you in the next one.